Hello, good evening, and welcome to the final race of the season, which means only one thing. It is the Championship 5. It's JACKOCAR's Kia series, and you're in the box with Gareth Hall, myself, and Owen Wyatt. Owen, we've sat through a season of ups, of downs, of ridiculous races, and some pretty placid races, and we now get to the Championship 5.
Yep. We do indeed. Hello, Gareth. Hello, everybody.
So nonchalant. Yep.
It is meant to be 3 of us in here, isn't it? But a little bit of race fixing got done in the stewards room after the last race, which means Jacko is part of this Championship 5. Of course, you will know that if you watched the pre-race show, which was hosted by OKK, and of course a wee cameo from Gareth himself. So that was a very good thing for the K series. Haven't done that too much, have yous? And yeah. Given the big build-up, I am very much looking forward to Miami, which is a new track for everyone and a complete unknown.
Yeah, and I would love to that both myself, I'm sure Owen as well, and the rest of the guys in JACKOCAR send a massive thank you out to Mike OKK for basically pulling that all together himself. Did a mega job. Wanted to give Kia as much of a build-up as possible, and don't worry. We've already got some ideas in store for Kia Season 5 starting in probably around about March next year. So keep your eyes on that for when the league restarts in 2023. But it is the Championship 5, as you say. And, well, there was, as Owen said, a little bit of a switch around in between that mega race that we had here in Kia in Brazil just 7 days ago. And tonight, with a post-race penalty being applied to Bazza, swapping positions, meaning that Jacko gained an extra point along with Lesty as well. So both Lesty, Jacko and Jess all ended on the same amount of points. However, Jacko manages to sneak into the Championship 5 on the count of podiums scored, as they both had one race win. It was Jacko with the extra podium that got him into the Championship 5. So tonight's 5 that can win the championship. So if you're new to JACKOCAR, this is the final race of the season. They've all been building up to it, and only the top 4 in the overall standings that have got through the regular season and the playoffs, and the lucky loser in the chase, so those that finished outside the top 10 in the championship, have got the ability to win the big one tonight. So our Championship 5 are Leroy Hasselager, Yuri Hasselager, Matt Rosemond, Jack Ricketts and Danny Quinn. So those are the 5 to keep your eyes on tonight. However, Owen, still 15 in the lobby and anyone can win.
Well, this is a chance, isn't it, for an outsider to come and take a race victory, because those Championship 5 will be more focused on beating each other, and if that's a fight for 6th place, or like we saw last week, a fight for 9th place, they can't really move forward too much. And so it's a good opportunity for other drivers to kickstart next season by having a good end to this one and getting that momentum. So expect to see a very competitive race tonight. We always get it for Championship 5s because there's just so much pressure out there.
Yeah, and I believe 3 brand new entrants into a Championship 5. Matt Rosemond, I believe, making his debut. I know that he was a regular season champion last season but didn't manage to make it into the Championship 5. So we've got Matt Rosemond, Jacko into Championship 5, and Matt, Jacko, no, it might be just 3 because Danny Quinn was in season 2. Of course, Yuri was last season's champion, and Leroy second in last season. So 2 brand new entrants into Championship 5 and 3 that have been here before. Yuri coming in as the reigning champion. Leroy second last season. He's on his way up to Cup to go play with the big boys up there. Can he leave with a championship? Because he's surely coming into this one as the dominant force, and you've got to think the odds-on favourite.
Definitely the odds-on favourite, but recently we have seen a lot of sort of shake-ups happening, and every time we try and point out a dominant force, we still see the qualifying dominant enough, but there's always a little snag in the race, and so that's where we'll see the rest try and sort of take advantage. And so, yes, definitely favourites out there, or Leroy the main favourite, but really anything can happen in here. And we know that Yuri, in a direct fight with him last season in Saudi Arabia, was able to take the title. And we'll see a repeat of that battle, at the very least, tonight, I'm hoping.
We are indeed, and we are here for the first time in JACKOCAR history in Miami for the Miami Grand Prix. Another one of the American Grand Prix to join the long list of the likes of course, Indianapolis and of COTA, of Sebring, of Phoenix and Las Vegas, as Quinn, one of our Championship 5, leaves the session. We've seen this from Quinn.
Second on track. He's got to get back really quickly. He's only got a minute and 30 seconds.
Yes, and that is because, of course, in the Championship 5, the Championship 5 competitors can choose their quali slot. So it's a one-shot quali for the entire grid. Everyone will go out and get one opportunity of an out lap and fast lap and an in lap. And, well, as you say, there is not much time for Danny, who is meant to be coming out at the 16 minutes and 15 second mark. And, well, much like we're going to see in Cup with Corey Dalton with a quali ban, as there we go, Quinn back in, so he's going to have time to reset. And I'm sure that's not going to help. I think that's a regular issue, unfortunately, with Quinn. He seems to struggle loading into the lobbies. But
listen to this.
Yeah.
Have you seen this from Ben Shaw, who's not in this, but he's being told information which is very exciting for us. Apparently, it's a wet race that will dry up after 45 minutes.
Oh, excellent.
Which means we're going to see very changeable conditions.
And very changeable conditions in a circuit that no one is used to, which is even
very little
better.
Grip as well.
Exactly.
Very little grip this track.
So Yuri heading out on circuit, he's going to be the first one to sample this Miami Grand Prix. The 19 turns, it's got 3 DRS zones, and well, it's a 5.4 kilometre circuit. And these guys will probably be doing about low 130s, with the 131s, 132s, perhaps. I'm just spitballing off times that I can remember off the top of my head, but let's have a look, as the Championship 5 have all got their all custom liveries on, and Yuri has gone for speed blue, a little bit of flash of red, and a nice silver colour there as well.
Yes, he likes going for this colour scheme, doesn't he? He went for the same thing, I believe, in the Cup Series race last week, and possibly Kia as well. So yes, he's certainly a fan of having the red with the speed colours, and he'll be hoping to do himself proud tonight. And the pressure of being the first driver on track is immense, really, because you know everyone's eyes are going to be on you, and of course we've seen him win a championship before, but I don't know, I just feel there's that little bit more pressure, because he's never looked as confident as his brother this season. He's got a big point to prove here, because I would have imagined this will be both of their last races in the Kia series, because there's surely no way they can both stay. They're sort of too dominant for it. Yuri, who did lose out on the regular series title in Austria, having had multiple incidents, no matter what he tried, it just didn't work out for him. So yeah, I would have thought he might be the driver most under pressure tonight.
Yeah, of course, coming in as reigning champion from last season, went side by side across the line in formation with his brother, but sets up for his fast lap, slows it right down to give the guns blazing into the final kink, and then we go for a slight right-hander. DRS open, sending you down to turn 1. Now what can you do on board Yuri as we send it down into the braking zone? The first corner of the lap, you have to turn right in and then flick it over to the left-hand side, then straight onto the roller coaster as we make it through a long right-handed corner that leads straight into a quick left-right flick as we go through turn 5 and 6. And you can see, just taking the apex, going to run out, use a little bit of the entry curb, and it's a late apex now as you make your way through onto the back straight. And Yuri absolutely flooring it now down through the exit of turn 9. DRS now opens just about now, and we're going to go down to turn 11. Heavy braking zone, got to turn right into the right to the left, and then of course it's a slightly long 12 as you come into the left, and now it's really scrubbing off the speed, gets on the curb a little bit, slides off, but manages to keep up the speed. Now it's the tricky part. We go up through turn 14 and 15 through the uphill chicane. He rides the curb a little bit hard there into the 90-degree left-hand turn that sends you down towards the 16 to 17 sector 3. This is effectively pretty much the entirety of sector 3, and well, Yuri, you can see that battery going down. He's going to have enough to get down to the braking point. Heavy braking point, heaviest on the lap, down into turn 17. Now it's getting on the loud pedal as soon as possible. Just about grazes the wall. Keep it on the apex of both of the last 2 corners. What's it going to be up to the line? It's going to be a 128.4, quicker than what I was imagining.
decent first lap then on the board, no major mistakes, kept it all within the lines, and yeah, has a decent time on the board. Let's see though how Danny Quinn can do in the purple and the yellow, a very distinctive livery. It'll be hard to miss this one out on the track. And like I say, there was a couple of moments where Yuri was avoiding the apex, so clearly just trying to preserve his car, lose half a tenth, or well, maybe lose half a second, sorry, but get himself to the line. You can see Quinn there for that last corner, much tighter on the apex. So will this be quicker, or did Yuri's approach work out to be better? By 8/10 of a second, it worked out better.
Yeah, good lap time from Yuri means it's put him 8/10 of a second faster than Quinn. Quinn running the, let's call it the W Series livery there with the purple and the fluoro yellow. As we've now got on circuit both Robin Border and Michael O'Keke. So where's O'Keke? O'Keke's making his way down now through the back end as a yellow flag is at 4. Robin on the final... Where are we on circuit? Just to start his lap. So, that's not going to help. You're going to lose about 60 mile an hour starting that lap.
And he's missing front winds. So that'll be a few seconds off the pace.
So as you say, here's a front end plate missing for the German driver, and well, this is not the part of the circuit that you want to be missing any sort of downforce, and so it looks as though it's going to be a well, unless we see some invalidations, there's the braking, that's going to help you with the lack of downforce, but most likely a back row start for Robin as he goes out wide, and he's going to have to. So this is the irritation for some people, is that they have to complete the lap. So you can't just box and just go, well, I'm going to start at the back anyway. He's going to have to complete the lap, which might put him in the midfield. It might put him right at the back. You never know until the end of quali. So it will be Robin coming across the line very shortly. However, O'Keke is about to start his lap. Joining us, the admin himself, who's put together a magnificent pre-show build-up, and in his Mercedes livery, he makes his way into Sector 1.
And gets himself through the tricky first chicane relatively easily, gets himself onto the faster section and the sweeping left-rights. Again, I would imagine most of them are trying to avoid the curve for that reason, because it just unsettles the car and it puts you off for the next few corners, and that's where OKK's gone wrong. And you can see nowhere near that final apex at the last part of Sector 1. Onto the DRS now, although he will be about a second or two down on where he'd realistically want to be. But again, as we say, you've got to keep it moving and get yourself to the end of the lap. Now he's catching up to Coutinho and Ben Harrett, who shouldn't ever be this close on a night lap. So I'm not entirely sure how they've managed this. I'm hoping that they will give each other some room before they start their flying outs, because it'll be quite difficult for us to keep an eye on it. The reason we have such big gaps between drivers is so that doesn't happen, but yeah, they're within about 2 seconds of each other. And OKK will certainly be on the back of them. Whether they let him go or not will remain to be seen, as he opens up the DRS for one last push to the final braking zone. Not necessarily the final corner. Let's see if he gets himself to the apex. He does indeed. It's quite an early apex, spits him wide a little bit, and you can see losing the rear end like Coutinho has just done in front of him. That's going to be one of the big flashpoints, I think, that final corner as OKK goes third fastest, because that's 2 cars now we've seen on their preparation laps hit the wall. And if we have a wet race, that final corner could be deadly, because I imagine the drivers are just trying to stab the throttle. They've got out of the final corner, pushed to the line, but the track does not allow for that.
No, not at all. And, well, Victor Souza binning it much like we saw from Rageman on just before the final corner. So he's going to have to do a lap with no front wing as well. So that's going to allow Ben Harrett. And Ben Harrett, who's come down to Kia before this season, I believe it was Saudi Arabia that we saw Ben for Spares 96 in. And, well, he is a man that is in waiting for a victory in the Cup Series, very much upwards of the front quite often, fighting in the midfield and having some superb battles. But what can he do down in Kia as he invalidates going in to the uphill chicane? So that's unfortunate for Ben. That's going to put him at the back of the grid, because that's a full invalidation. So that's a let-off for those that have set a lap, the likes of OKK and Rageman.
Feels like everyone's trying to make this as easy as possible for the Championship 5 to be at the front. No one apart from the Championship 5 have had clean laps so far. And next driver to give it a go will be Marco, I believe. He's not got to the start of his lap yet. And wonder what's taken him so long. Like I say, it appears we've had a little bit of a mix-up in the timings or something, because the driver spacing is definitely off. But anyway, Marco with another new livery. He's gone very much yellow and it's a proper Jordan livery. This.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
be,
Yeah. I like that.
See how you can get along. Very
Fluoro
nice.
yellow. Yeah, do like that. As I'm a big fan of bold colours on cars. I do like to have a lot of bright colours. It's not going to help if you going down to Miami Beach, are you, Marcos? You can always go that deep into that last corner. But yes, you can see a lot of cars getting very light. You can even hear the throttle kind of like just revving up a little bit as he gets light going through the kink. And we've already seen, as you say, both Robin and of Victor Souza losing it into that final kink. So surprising, because I've never actually had an issue with that part of the corner. It's this is the section that tends to catch people out, as you really need to stay wide to the track, and as Marco's going to run out wide, and that's going to, as Vokeke, spit you to the far side of the circuit. It's a late apex, and it's an even later one if you're Marco Schneider, as he's now onto the I say the back straight, but pretty much sector 2, running all the way down. And Marco, another German in the field, takes a wider line there, and that's maybe not as the quickest way to go around, but you will carry a little bit more speed going into the braking point. But it's all about maximising the speed in the third sector. You can see that car is not happy at all, and be interesting to see, Owen, if we have these guys perhaps taking a little bit more conservative, knowing that they might have a wet setup.
I would hope that's what Mick Schumacher's problem is. Because if it isn't, then he's in for a long evening. Because that car looks atrocious to drive, and I believe Thomas Nevitt has been for a spin. I think he has, because he's crawling around. He's nearly 10 seconds off even Mick Schumacher's first sector, and we've seen how much he's struggling to get round this lap. It's like he's running round with no front wing. He's going to be a good 5 seconds off the pace at this rate. And crossing the line... 3.8. He was 4th fastest, still beats 2 drivers, so even though he's struggling that much, he still gets himself to the line. And well, we know Thomas Nevitt's having a bad lap, so I would suggest we watch Matt Shepard, who's running round in orange this week. He's gone very much Felipe Drugovich with this one.
He is indeed. I was just checking in with Thomas, who's actually stuck behind a car, even though he's on his fast lap. So I was just trying to work out who he's behind. I believe that's is Kingen. So Kingen actually on an out lap, blocking a driver that's on a fast lap, which is okay. We'll run with it. Anyway, back over to the orange machine, and it's not a Dutchman that's driving it. It's Matt Shepard, and Matt, who in one of my many takes that I did whilst recording the pre-show build-up, I actually said that Matt Shepard, if he elects to stay with us for next season, is one of my championship protagonists. I think he's had a superb end to the season. He was absolutely fantastic last week in Brazil, where he finished second, starting 16th on the grid, and was really chasing down for the victory with Quinn in the final stages. And coming into this one, he's definitely going to be fighting up at the front of the field. We know, of course, that these guys maybe haven't done as much racing around Miami as we've seen in previous, and that's why we've heard a lot of "I don't want to race around here." It's because it's new, and no one likes new, clearly. But I myself, I love this track. I find it flows very nicely indeed. And what does Matt do? It's going to be a 29.6, puts him currently second on the grid. And you've got to think, look at that gap, Yuri already. That he's got 8 tenths to Quinn alone, and then everyone kind of sitting in the 29s and 30s.
Yeah, he'll be very, very comfortable as of now, but we know we're waiting for those last 3 drivers, the other members of the Championship 5, who will challenge that. But at the minute, it doesn't look like anyone else can do so, which would suggest we could be on to see the Championship 5 occupy the top 5 grid slots. I'm not entirely sure we've ever seen that happen before. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that as Kanan comes out of the final corner. Hasn't got Thomas Nevitt anywhere near him anymore as he crosses the line to go P4, 1.7 seconds off the pace.
As you can see, that's Isaac that's completed his lap. King and 79 now over to, we've both got MXI and Bazza out on a lap. So Michel Goris, who has just missed out on getting into the Championship 5, missing a race which allowed Danny Quinn to sneak in through the chase. But Michel, very, very fast indeed, has been competitive in both Kia and in Cup this season. So he's coming into this with a lot of confidence, and it's all about making sure that it's optimizing the right lines, the right speeds, and you can see he's carrying so much more speed through the chicane. Much nicer run through there, and you can see much more comfortable on the turning. That car was looking really planted as he went onto the back straight. So nice run here for Michel down through with DRS down to turn 17. Now it's all about this braking point. Uses as much track on the right hand side as possible, runs over a little bit, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time. They just took too much entry curb, but what's he do with the final two corners? Michel Goris to the line. It's going to be a 28 surely. It's a 28.769 and puts him 0.3 of a second behind Yuri. However, front row of the grid so far.
Yes, and so finally the first driver to break in to those Championship 5 drivers and disturb the peace. As Baza comes around, he is invalid. I believe there was some mistakes on the lap as well that may well have actually caused the invalidation, but he's a good 8 seconds off anyway. Which leaves us with Sully, the last of the non-Championship 5 runners.
And Sully, who's had a pretty solid season. If he hadn't missed so much of the season due to being out of work commitments out in Brazil at the same time as the Grand Prix, but not actually managing to catch it. He actually met Gunther Steiner and Nick de Vries in the airport on the way out and had a quick chat and a photo of them. So, but didn't manage to catch the Grand Prix. He's just missed out on a Championship 5, but he's going to come across the line, surely going to put himself upwards towards the front. It's a 29.677, 700 of a second slower than Matt Shepherd, a current P5. So now over Owen to Mr. Ricketts, the Mr. League owner himself, who's almost gone for Jess's livery, but in metallic.
Bit unoriginal, isn't it? You would have thought the big man would put a bit more effort into the car, but it's okay. Maybe he'll have a quick lap time to make up for it as he heads through into the last few corners now. A driver who arguably is quite lucky to be here, but with the win in Saudi Arabia and the podium in Austria, has put himself in this position, and it is a quick lap so far. It will go second fastest, and so Jacko is turning up the heat here. That's a good lap.
There is indeed. And the man that frequents Florida quite often to go see the Daytona 500, well, he's put himself currently front row of the grid. So over to, and I've called him the silent assassin for the majority of the season because no one quite knows how he's managed to get to the Championship 5 because he's gone under the radar.
Nowhere near Jack
as Matt Roseman didn't. Yeah, and this is one thing I was actually looking as I was going through the notes before this, and Matt is not a prolific qualifier at all. His average qualifying is just shy of 8th position. So he's very much all about points and managing that race distance. He's running the USA livery that we saw Team Speed run in the Cup race last week in Kota. And Matt's best result of first place in Monaco, worst in fact, was last week. So he's not coming into this. He came in with a 13th in Brazil. He's coming into this race off the back of his worst result of the season. He's only collected 6 seconds of penalties all season long though. So we know that he does keep it within the track limits. But down to the heavy braking zone at 17, what's Matt Roseman, otherwise known as Speed Newgarden, as he takes a much nicer apex compared to some of those we've seen climbing the curbs, but it's going to be a much slower time. It's going to be up towards the 30s here. It's 30 or 30 dead, but that puts him down in P7 and behind a heap of cars that are not in the Championship 5. So not the best lap there for Matt Roseman. However, Leroy is absolutely flying, and what can he do? Is it going to make it a 1-2 of the brothers locking out the front row? Surely this is going to be pole. Wow, what a lap. A 1:27.748. He takes pole as both the speed drivers there of Matt Roseman and Leroy crossing the line within a couple of seconds of each other. However, Leroy does it almost 3 seconds faster.
And of course, you've got to ask the question about setups. If we are in for wet races, Leroy possibly putting all his eggs in the dry basket. We'll have to wait and see, but it is something we've seen a lot of recently, where he takes the pole position by a great big margin. But, as I say, it doesn't always work out for him. So, this isn't set in stone. It is a Championship 5, 1, 2, 3. So, good stuff from them. Then, obviously, 5 and 8 for the other two. So, all very much up there. And, yeah, I'm interested to see the weather. If Ben wasn't waffling, of course. But, anyway, the grid, Gareth.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. We've got 4 of the Championship 5 in the top 5. We've got an all-Dutch lockout. It is the Hasselager brothers of Leroy and Yuri that lock out the front row of the grid. A 1 to 27, 748 takes pole position by 7/10 of a second to Yuri. Then Jacko 2/10 of a second behind in 3rd position. I believe his best quality result of the season so far. Michel Goris in 4th position with Quinn. That's Danny Quinn in P5. What can he do from there? Matt Shepherd a good P6 with Sully P7. Newgarden stays on trend and average qualifying in 8th position with Isaac Edmer in 9th, Michael Okeke 10th. Then we've got Marco Schneider, Robin Border, Victor Souza, Thomas Nevitt, Ben Harriott and Barry Baldwin, with Ben and Barry, 2 of the drivers without a time to their name. And Bazza actually taking a season out next season, so this is his last race in Kia for a while, and running his first season livery, which the white, the red and the green, which looks oddly similar, and I'm not sure if this is where the inspiration came from, but to me it looks like the old Toyota Celica Castrol livery from the WRC back in the 90s. So I do like that one. Could even be the Lancia Stratos, but yeah, it's Bazza leaving us. He was a Championship 5 contender last season, and he's a multi-time race winner. And it'd be sad to see him off the grid because he's always a good laugh when he's on it. Puts a lot of effort in, but taking a season out. However, Championship 5 now in, and wow.
I'm seeing blue tyres in the garage as well, you know.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we'll be starting on full wets?
I think that's full wet.
That means, in terms of strategy, what this would mean is that you'll be able to make your green flag stops potentially wet to enter to dry, which could make this a more traditional sort of race.
Yes.
If we are to sort of trend in that direction. But obviously on a track which is this slippery, it will not be as easy as it sounds.
And, I mean, that's a very quick start from the guys in the...
eager.
So we will have a formation lap. We have had it reactivated in the last few races, but yeah, it's 100%. This is a full wet start. Look at the standing water in the pit lane. So these guys are, I mean, not going to be happy. Bear in mind, we've got a portion of the grid that are on medium traction. We've got guys that are not used to the spray. We've only had, and this is one of my random things I was collecting. So with this season, we've only had 13.9% of the season in wet conditions. In fact, the last race of the season, Brazil, was fully intermediate the entire way through, and apart from that, it's pretty much bookended, because the first race of the season in Australia, 15 laps of the 29, so almost half the race were in intermediate conditions. So they've not had that much wet running this season. We've had all season 24% of the races, so that's 366 laps under a safety car. I have a feeling, Owen, we might see a few more tonight.
I have a feeling we will, and I'm just thinking, have we ever seen a wet Championship 5? I don't believe we have.
Kia season 2 went from dry to wet.
I see. Okay. There's my Kia knowledge for you.
That's because I ended up losing in it. That's why it still hurts to this day.
Do you know, I have a feeling I was commentating on that race. I might have actually been there, and I don't remember.
That's fine. I don't remember.
Embarrassing.
I don't remember last week, let alone Championship 5s. But this is tricky, isn't it? Because I mean, the spray around here is going to be awful. And if you're Leroy and Yuri, well, they've got to fight each other. So it's not a case of the speed. This is not a race where speed will help each other out. This is a race where it's all or nothing. And as Pete says, you weren't there. You bailed out on Jacko and him. So shame on you.
Well, I know I was meant to be there. All I know is that I should have been there, because I know it was at Portugal, wasn't it?
It was.
I was just sort of sitting there thinking...
Well, it's the thought that counts.
I just couldn't remember if I'd actually done it or not, because I know I was asked to, but there you go, I wasn't. So that's why I don't remember the weather.
No, well, hopefully we'll remember this one. This one should be good, as all in the background around goes Marco Schneider, Vitinho and Thomas Nevitt, and that's going to put them on the grid. However, don't worry about your tyre temperatures, guys. There's no point weaving you won't get any tyre temperature in these full wets. The full wets can shift upwards of 85 litres of water a second. That's great if you're leading the race. That's not great if you're anywhere behind, where that 85 litres of water is approaching your face at roughly about 160 miles an hour. So let's see if we get a good getaway, because of course it's all about shifting up quickly and early up into around about third or fourth gear in the full wet conditions. It's going to be Leroy from Yuri's gone long, and Michelle's gone long as well, so Yuri's going to start a few feet back in his grid box, and we're going to get another absolutely dreadful start with camera angles, but as Casper says, no one went for the inters. You think, bro? As we see standing waters, and here we go, 4, 5, pause, out. Championship 5 underway here in Miami, and it's a good start from Leroy. What does Yuri do alongside him? Yuri's going to try and take to the inside. Well, will Leroy cover the inside? He does. He gets the move. Surely he's going to shut the door on his brother, and he does hold on to the lead going into turn 2, but rides the curb. It's behind that we might see some action, as we can see guys starting to scatter around trying to look for some clean air, because, well, whilst we can't see the spray coming up, they definitely will. We've already got Vicinio out.
That has to be a safety car. That's 4 or 5 cars just stopped dead. Don't know how many were damaged, but the safety car is indeed out. And, well, Vitinho's day already over. Baza in his last race, well, for now, has actually got away without damage. So luckily he got the car stopped in time. But we now see a championship, 4 out of the 5 are leading that top 4. So good stuff from Leroy Yuri. Quinn, who's had a fantastic start, and Jacko, who's held on with her new garden. I don't believe he got involved in the incident at the very least, but he's got even more work to do now. He's down to 9th.
Yeah, as Victor Souza, unfortunately, adds another retirement to the list of an ever-growing amount of DNFs he's had this season, the highest, I believe, of everyone, joining the likes of Kaya in that list of most amounts of retirements in the race. Kaya, one of the guys missing tonight, along with Jess, who's elected not to race tonight. She will, however, be in Cup, I believe, on Thursday, so she'll be racing here anyway, but decided to miss Keir after the disappointment, I imagine, of losing out in the steward's decision, as Baza picked up a 3-second time penalty of corner cutting under the safety car, which is interesting. But Mazza is behind. You can see Rageman missing a front wing, I believe, so he'll be into the box. Non-mandatory stops, of course, as if you're new to the Championship 5, or if you're new to JACKOCAR, it is a mandatory 2-stop, and oh my word, Robbins just run straight into the back of OKK under the safety car, couldn't get the car slowed down, didn't even think that he might be missing some downforce, and hopefully that hasn't hurt OKK too much, because that was totally unnecessary.
Yes, that is unnecessary, but we see it a lot, actually, don't we, under safety cars, people doing unnecessarily stupid things. Now, these pit stops, I'm going to assume they're all for damage, because there's no reason why you'd want to do anything other than fix a car in this situation. Saying that, I've been proven wrong, because Marco, despite being one of the damaged cars, still feels the track is not in the condition for full wets anymore. Now, the problem with this is that this is not cut as a mandatory stop. If he did this and it was a mandatory stop, then you could say, well, do you know what? He may gain, but he'll have to pit twice anyway. And so, in these conditions, you need to be on the right tyre, because you're just going to lose out in the long run with this. Yeah. I mean, as I was about to say before Robin ran into the back of Michael, it is a mandatory 2 stop. So you must make 2 stops. However, you cannot make one of them under a safety car. If you've committed, 100% this is full wet. What he's doing.
This is, and Marco has let's say, not had the best of endings to the season back in Abu Dhabi. He caused a record. I believe it was 39 local yellows, and made it our worst race of the season for stops and starts with yellows, as we had 47 in total, and he was more than 2/3 of all of them. Pointing back, and as you say, I mean, there's just going to be no grip. You can see the standing water, and he's on and off line, and I mean, it was a bold decision. God, what word, as he's going to try and make it around, and all this is going to do, in fact, is really hurt Rageman, because Rageman's going to want to catch the back of the safety car, and he can't do, because he's going to have to go to the same speed of his his compatriot from Germany, Marco, because they're both sitting there in 14th and 15th, however, 10 seconds off the back of the pack. And, well, with a car that basically has... it's 35 litres of water a second that the Inters can shift, so you're losing out on almost 50 litres of water a second. So when you're running behind someone... and
more pit stops.
And we've got, Ben Harrett and Thomas Nevitt. That's a new wing for Thomas, and so
that's
interesting.
Weird.
So,
and Marco's abandoning this crusade, I believe. So that's a bit of common sense. Onto the full wets again. Nothing lost there, I suppose. He was already at the back, wasn't he? So
yeah. Well, that's actually working better in the long run, I'd imagine, for everyone, because he would have been effectively a ticking time bomb of a safety car. So we are under safety car conditions. Euro almost puts it in the wall, lighting up the rear tyres. But as you say, a little bit earlier on, we have got 4 of the Championship 5 in the top 4. Well, effectively, we've got them in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Newgarden has made up a position after losing 1 off the start, so he's back up to 8th position. So he needs to get past King and Matt Shepherd and Michel Goris to get himself involved in this fight. But well, this is quite tasty, isn't it? 4 of them in the top 4 positions, and well, anyone watching at home, let us know. Drop into the comments. It's always good to see who's listening, who's watching, and who's going to win this. Where's this going to go? It's great to see the likes of Pete, of Casper, Corey's in there as well. Everyone preparing for, I imagine, just writing some notes, getting ready for what might happen on Thursday. Of course, the Cup Series have got their Championship 5 here in Miami with an over 2 hour long pre-show build-up that genuinely you do not want to miss, and we can't stress this enough. It is going to be special. Let's put it that way, Owen?
Yep, I've got nothing more to add to that, because if you let me keep talking about it, I'll spoil it on you. But as they head through this final corner, it would appear the safety car's either taking a very long time to pit, or indeed is staying out. I'm not entirely sure why it needs to. The whole pack was ready to go. But the thing is, on this restart, we have not seen these guys successfully get through a sector yet at full speed. And so this is still a bit of an unknown, because at these low speeds you're not really learning much. But when they properly have to go for it and start racing, this is where we'll really see these Championship 5 under pressure, because this is nightmare scenario this for them, I believe. Just the constant change of conditions. The track will almost feel different every lap.
Yeah, and I'm just every now and then just looking at the standing water, because that's tends to it does tend to be the indicator for, but it does look like the rain has perhaps slowed. Oh, I say that shot doesn't at all.
That shot doesn't help, does it? But no. when you're riding on board, it certainly looks a lot less than it was.
Well, we'll be able to tell how wet it is, because that fake water that is somehow rippling in that shot there is. If that actually fills up with water, we know it's still raining. But so the guys heading round, the safety car will be in this lap unless they decide to stick it out and just do the classic F1 of just waiting until it's dry. But looks as though we'll be going green again. And as you say, will everyone be able to navigate the first sector? Because it is the first and second sector that really. That in wet conditions are the hardest one to get used to, especially the first sector. So
I'd say start of the third sector. The chicane they're all going through now, the run up to that and the chicane itself, it's essentially zero grip once you get into there in the dry. So you can imagine in the wet, they'll actually just end up aquaplaning through the whole section, just hoping it sticks. As the safety car is in this lap, so we've had to wait for it. But we're about to get racing again, and I tell you what, they can't pit on this restart lap as the safety car comes in, but I have a feeling at the end of lap 5 you might well see a few people going for those intermediates, because this rain is very quickly lightening up. Yeah,
and there's definitely a drier line you can see down that main straight off. So, well, Leroy, he's going to get us started. He's got the black, the gold, and the team speed blue. He can slow it down. He can wait until the DRS detection line. There we go. And he can go any time from now. He's going to wait. Sean, he's going to wait until after the kink, because he doesn't want to go on the curb, and he does just about hold on to it, because the back end was squirming there a little bit. Yuri behind him. Quinn has got Jacko for company, but Jacko decides better of it. They're going to go side by side, and we've already got Robin Border around at the final corner. Yellow flag out. We won't get a safety car because they don't release him straight away, because the safety car effectively is not back into position yet. But well, it's a good getaway for Leroy, still holding on to position. Yuri chasing him down. There's already a bit of a gap, and behind, Matt Shepherd goes very deep as well and sends it off track, and that's going to cost him a couple of tenths of a second. Michelle Goris 7 tenths back, but Matt Shepherd already, however, with that mistake, is still on the back of Jacko, and in fact trying to challenge with 3 tenths of a second down. He's using a bit of battery, so Jacko under threat here. He's going defensive. He's hugging the inside line. You can see that gap at the front between the two Hasselagers and Quinn now already out to 1.5 seconds.
And Matt Shepherd on the outside of Jacko, who's over defending in there, and he doesn't need to be defending this much. He's just compromising his line for every corner. And the thing that might save him is to switch to intermediates, because I think that's going to happen at the end of the slap. The problem is, of course, if you see the whole field come in, you'll see some people lose out due to stacking, but I feel you will see them take that risk. The top 4, all being well, none of them will have to stack, but it's hard to tell. All 4 of them could be teammates, you know, you could have 2 of them just getting stuck in the box, but let's see what happens. Because I see no reason for them to still be out there in the wet. You've got to make 2 mandatory stop. This is an easy mandatory to do, going on to the intermediates, and Leroy will pit, as will Yuri. So yeah, Jacko stays out, interestingly enough, as does Matt Shepherd. Actually, a lot of them are staying out. That's I don't know what to think about that. I thought we'd see the whole field in, frankly.
Yeah, me too. I would have come in for a set of new wet tyres for Yuri.
That's a mistake. That's a mistake. Why would you do that? Because you've got to. I suppose you'd be taking the mandatory stop, but you might as well go for the right tyre at the time. But Leroy's the only one who's gone on to intermediates. How bizarre is this? I was not expecting that at all. I mean, OKK's got a broken front wing. He's going for more wets. Rageman, intermediates as well. So only 2 on them. So we'll see Yuri. Can he chase down his
Marco's
brother?
around.
Marco is around. Oh,
that was close, right in front of the Hasselagers, but just about.
And Leroy's not struggling. He's not struggling at the moment. I mean, Yuri can't get near him right now. I just don't think this is the right call, because the rain's getting so much lighter. This is intermediate condition. It just is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, obviously, there's a yellow flag there. It's for Marco again, so that might actually, if that brings out a safety car or a VSC, might help those that are in the uphill chicane now, because you can see Jacko leading from Matt Shepherd, Michelle Goris King, and
He's wide, Jacko. This could give Matt Shepherd a chance. Does he risk passing a Challenger 5 contender? He's going to go for it. This is the move for the race lead, and the move that this race will continue into the pit lane as well. So Jacko's really got to hold on to this position. He does not want to risk having to stack with anyone, as Matt Shepherd has a look around the outside, and surely they're going to dash for the pits, and surely they're going to go on to intermediates. But they're both staying out. I can't believe they're staying out, because there's a safety car now. They're in so much trouble. And Jacko, in my opinion, he cannot afford to take this risk. It's almost a crazy risk to take when you've got the likes of Mick Schumacher, or Marco, sorry, you know, making these mistakes all the time. He's already hit the wall once on this lap. What if he brings out a safety car?
Yuri's in. Yuri's in.
Well,
he's got his stops out the way. Is it onto a set of intermediates? But as you say, that's going to put him a pit stop down effectively, because
unless actually, sorry to interrupt you, but unless this stays entered to the end, in which case he's now done.
True.
And maybe he didn't want to waste a set. But with what Ben was telling us earlier on, it's due to dry up, and that's why I'm feeling this is a mistake. So I suppose we'll see how it goes, but 23 laps on a set of the intermediate tyres. I'm not entirely sure it's going to be that competitive at the end. So yeah, I still feel he's made a mistake here, Yuri.
This is the lap. I'm just watching. I've stayed on board with Leroy for this, because if he sets a fastest lap now, then Jacko is in serious trouble, because Leroy, I mean, he's hovering around the 4.9 second behind Thomas Nevitt, so he's not actually made up too much time. He's just taken half a second out of him going into the braking points, but that could be literally being Thomas being, safety car. Who is that for?
That's OKK's lost a front wing, and well, it saves Yuri, doesn't it, a little bit? And Newgarden, who obviously had to make the same correction to his error. Quinn has to live with his error. And OKK not only has brought out a safety car, he's now given himself a drive-through penalty for speeding behind it. But the race leaders, well, what are you doing?
I think Jack.
Now
yeah.
he pits.
I see.
He pits now.
I think you have to. I think Jacko's actually making the right call here. And whilst this is a non-mandatory stop, you can't have a restart on wet tyres. He will be miles away from where he needs to be. So this is a bitter pill, but I think he's actually making the right decision here.
Yeah, it's just painful because you know he should have made it 2 laps ago. But, well, I suppose it'll put him in front of the likes of Quinn and others. In fact, Quinn's pitting to make his first non-mandatory. He's already made 1 mandatory, so it's not as big a problem as the Jacko one. But it'll be on to intermediates, I'm sure. And do you know what? It'll get him ahead of Newgarden still, which may not have happened. So I suppose he'll take that one. But yeah, I'm just surprised he didn't all go straight onto the intermediates at the first opportunity. It's we called it before the safety car even came in that that's what they should have been doing. So I'd love to know what the race engineer perhaps was saying to the drivers. You know, was the track not ready? But wow, it leaves Leroy in a very, very good position.
Yeah, massively. I mean, obviously still a stop to make, but he'll be happy with that, of course, because his 2 main rivals are pretty much Yuri and Quinn now, and they're down in 9th and 10th position. Of course, Quinn's got another stop to make. Yuri's made both of his. So Leroy does need to make another stop. Yuri doesn't. However, of course, Yuri now stuck in the middle of the pack on a safety car restart in the rain, which is dangerous at best and treacherous at worst. So I don't know. This is tricky. It's a hard one to work out because with Leroy, he'll be happy with where he is. Matt Shepherd, Thomas Nevitt back up, and tends to actually run quite nicely in the rain. Does Thomas? He did very nicely in Australia at the start of the season. Of course, now on medium traction though, so slightly different, but still, I'm sure will be comfortable sitting up there in P2. But Matt Shepherd, he'll be bemoaning not coming in as well because he was looking quite racy behind the likes of Jack and some of the other Championship 5 protagonists. But he's now going to be... I mean, this is where the tyre difference really comes into play because it's very much noticeable. It's almost as if it's almost the equivalent of going from intermediates to dries when you're behind someone on intermediates and they're on full wets, and it's definitely intermediates, as Thomas is getting far too close to Matt Shepherd under the safety car. You need to back off a little bit. You don't need to this is one of my biggest bugbears of league racing. Under a safety car, there is no need for you to be this close to anyone, and this isn't just Thomas, this goes for everyone. Give people space and there won't be contact and there won't be unnecessary penalties. But yeah, Leroy's now going to have to navigate his way past 2 people that are on much worse tyres, and then effectively, unless there's no real even passing place in the first sector.
Yeah, this could be where the race does get thrown up in the air because he will have to be patient. And Jacko, I'm sure, will see his name light up here and try and get himself in front and just try his best to put Leroy off. And all this will help Yuri. If Yuri can get himself close enough to fight, then he'll be okay. These safety cars will obviously be helping him with the tyre wear because he's only driven really a lap, maybe even only just half a lap on these tyres at racing speed. So this is okay for him. But I'm suspecting there'll be another stop in this race for dries. That's what we've been told is going to happen. So Yuri, he has got to make the grind up. So we're going to have to see Yuri be properly aggressive, and he'll take Quinn and Newgarden with him. So this will be quite exciting to watch, I think. And I'm hoping the safety car comes in this lap. But judging by the fact that we've still got Rageman, Marco, and OKK just not quite on the back of the pack, I think we're going to have to sit here and wait another lap, unfortunately. But maybe the game will prove me wrong.
Well, we've seen in Cup just a few weeks ago when the safety car came in after what didn't even feel like a lap. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Left half the grid behind in Mexico. Well, you've got Quinn sitting behind Yuri. Quinn's going to have to go, as you say, he's going to have to go aggressive. Yuri's going to have to go aggressive. Of course, he's made his stops, but does Yuri play this long game and not worry about overtaking as into the box comes Thomas Nevitt?
That's, it's made Leroy's life easier, hasn't it? But it's made my life as a commentator harder because I was looking forward to watching Leroy suffer. But it does make his life significantly easier, that. And I bet you Jacko, he'll be cursing that pit stop as well.
Or as Newgarden almost runs straight into the back of Sully going into turn 1, actually has to take to the runoff on the entry to turn 1. So far too hot on the and far too late on the brakes for Matt Roseman there, as he almost takes the front wing off. That's not ideal, because not only you're in the Championship 5, it would have been one of your teammates that he was sitting in the party with. So that would have been an awkward conversation.
Rage Man has lost his whole front wing. Will this leave the safety car out another lap? It could well do so, you know. Because Marco and OK still nowhere near the pack, and Rageman will hold this up. I think he will still catch it, but damage on the track, will the game let us go green after that? I suppose we'll have to just wait and see. But Rageman's having a horrible day.
Yeah, unfortunately for Robin, who's had a pretty decent season, to be fair. I mean, when he tends to have these races where he's either on or he's off, he's been in 4th position a couple of times. He's had 1 podium, and he's had 3 fastest laps as Robin, but he's unfortunately just looking as though one of them isn't going to be tonight. Rageman, who's actually picked up quite a handy amount of penalties, 36 so far this season. So 36 seconds, I should say, not 36 penalties. That's Kaya level of penalties there. But
yeah, it would be a bit, wouldn't it?
But well, do we see the lights of the safety car go off, and that LED board, the SC, will go green if it's going to come in? Looks as though there we go. So safety car in this lap, so that's going to allow Matt Shepherd to effectively be your race leader. So he'll cross the line to start lap 11 in the lead. Big question is does he get to turn 1 leading it? Because on the much nicer tyres, Leroy is going to be right up behind him. You can see, look at the grid bunching up as they scatter to find some space down the back straight, as OKK has caught up to the back of him. We're going to see Robin into the box surely for a new wing. Jacko's in P3, and yet he's got 2 stops to make. Here we go, race restarting, and Matt Shepherd is going to slow everyone down. He knows that he needs to get the jump because he's on the wrong tyres. He's waiting. How late is he going to leave it? Because you don't want to gun it too early and get on that curb. He's going to wait until right on the exit, and off we go. Restarted, and we go green, and already Leroy's looking to the inside, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move on Matt Shepherd behind there, scatching for positions, and into position stays Matt Shepherd. Leroy, and Jacko holds on to P3, but Leroy gets it all wrong coming on the exit of P2, and he's going to be all out of shape. Jacko's got to look at him, but he's not going to be able to get a move done because it's so tricky to find any passing places around here. But you can see behind, that's Ben Harriott trying to go around Jacko. That would have been a superb move, but he just got out of shape trying to get the power down.
So Leroy having a horrible time then on this restart. Absolutely no grip in his car whatsoever. Will he be able to find his grip as he heads around the lap? But Matt Shepherd nearly 2 seconds clear, so that surprises me that the wet tyres still have so much performance in them, but unfortunately it's not enough to make a massive gap. When he pits, he'll still fall right behind many drivers. But, well, we'll keep an eye on it anyway and see if Leroy can catch in the 3rd sector. But right now he's not actually going to get held up that much, is he? As Yori falls down to, or moves up, sorry, to 7th place. And, well, still 5 places off really where he needs to be.
Yeah, and Quinn unfortunately couldn't follow him through as they were side by side going into turn 11, I believe it was. But, well, Quinn's now going to have to sit behind Kingan as Kingan's going to go deep. That's going to open the door for Quinn, and Kingan just shaves the wall on the exit there. So luckily to get away with that one, as Quinn, you can hear absolutely pinning the throttle, battery down as well very early into the shifting. So that's going to spin the rear tyres up, and you'll actually lose a little bit of battery. But Quinn's going to be right in the tow. Is he going to pull to the inside and look to get the move done? He is to the inside and up into 8th position. Is Kingan going to go and do the under and over? Looks as though he can't quite get back past, and into the box does come Matt Shepherd, and Jacko is going to make his first mandatory stop.
And it'll all be on intermediates, won't it? No reason to be off them now. It's a popular tyre. But now Leroy just has to keep this calm, doesn't he? He's not even at the halfway point of the race. He's got another pit stop to make, but he is where he needs to be at the minute.
I mean, Quinn is playing with fire here, with a completely unnecessary fight with Kingan. Kingan clearly had the inside line going into turn 1, and unfortunately Danny just turned straight into him. He's lucky to have not got away with any front wing damage there, because Kingan clearly had the inside line, and for some reason Danny's just turned straight into him, trying to hold on to the position, but he's dropped behind him, so he's stayed behind. Kingan stayed behind Quinn, but maybe that's Kingan deciding to not get involved in the battle rather than the other way around, because I don't know, I watched that and I thought, what are you doing, Danny? Because that was unnecessary. But up at the front, Yuri's now caught Bazza for pace. So Yuri, he's done his 2 stops, so he's now not only good to go to the end if he wants to do so, as he slides around the uphill chicane, but he's only a couple of seconds off of Leroy, who's got to make at least one more.
And it'll tell when we see these laps come through who is really on the pace. I'll keep my eye on Leroy's and we'll just sort of see how the two brothers compare, because it is only 1 lap fresher tyre. But I mean, if Yuri has any advantage, he needs to show it now, because he really has to get himself up the road as Leroy crosses the line. It's going to be a 40.8, the fastest lap, and Yuri actually nowhere near it.
42.1 was that last lap for Yuri.
But he's still making moves. Look, right on the outside he goes on Bazza, and he will find himself up into 4th place. I would have thought Bazza will let him go, and he does.
Oh, that was close.
Not without much of the, well, not without scaring him, anyway.
Bazza not willing to give up. He doesn't need to, of course. These guys can all still fight as long as they don't just go out and try and ruin everyone else's race. They can still fight with each other, but Bazza now down to P5 with that time penalty as well, as gaps are now starting to form as everyone starts to spread out, and we are definitely fully intermediates. However, Robin Border has gone around again, and
but it appears the game isn't actually going to do it for once when a driver smashes his front wing off, mainly because it's only an end plate. Actually, it looked like worse when I was on board with him. Well, thank goodness for that, because we've only just got out of a safety car. I was not wanting to go into one again. I do wonder if anyone will just try and cover this off and finish their pistol strategies, although it does appear that quite a lot have, but not all of them.
Yeah, this is tricky to work out where this is going to go, because Yuri's sitting in P4, but as you said when he made his second stop, those tyres are going to be hurting by the end of this race. No matter what he does, no matter how much you can look after him, and Thomas Nevick chasing down OKK and the likes of Jacko as well, sitting behind Matt Shepherd again, and they're sitting behind Marco Schneider. So we've got 3 cars of varying different colours of orange and yellow, all following each other, as Yuri does the fastest lap of the race, once again a 40.463, as into the box comes Ben Harrett, so he makes a stop. And Jacko still sitting behind the pair of Matt Shepherd and Mick Schumacher, and Marco getting all out of shape coming out the last corner, and Matt Shepherd not close enough to get a move done just yet. But well, lap 14, who's gone off this time? It's OKK that's gone around. He's managed to recover it, so it's back to green, but they are really tiptoeing their way around potentially another safety car. We've already seen 2 as down the inside. Lovely move there from Matt Shepherd on Marco Schneider, and Jacko's now caught behind him, and in fact it looks as though Marco might have actually just jumped out of the way for Jacko there. So nicely done from Marco, just to make sure that he's not holding up Jacko any more than he desperately needs to. But what that has done is allow Matt Shepherd and Jacko a little bit of free roam, that they can start closing up on Newgard, and Matt Rosemond kind of having a little bit of a middling. I mean, Matt did know that his chances tonight were going to be relatively slim, but he's not having the best of runs. He did say that Miami is not the track he would have chosen for the Championship 5, but it's all about, everyone's had plenty of time to practice it, and if you're Quinn, who's sitting in P5, he could kind of do a little bit of magic now, because he's got to get past Bazza, and as we've seen from Yuri, that's no easy feat at all.
Yeah, he's falling behind, isn't he? Although none of these guys have the pace of Leroy anyway, and this is the problem. It's not a playoff race anymore, or a chase race where top 5's decent. It's worthless to you. 3rd place for Yuri, worthless. 5th for Quinn, worthless. You've got to be where Leroy is, and right now he is blowing the field away. A 40.2 compared to Michel's 40.5 and to Yuri's 41.2. He is just in a league of his own right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And with his 5th pole position tonight, that was actually broken the record for Kia for most pole positions in a row. 5 poles in a row, and actually extended the the number of times that we've seen a Hasselager on the front row of the grid to
look at this,
9
by the way.
races as
We've
Quinn.
got Jacko going around the outside of Newgarden, taking advantage of Matt Shepherd overtaking him, and Newgarden loses 2 spots, and Jacko moves up in the Championship 5 race.
Jacko's still by Matt Shepherd. He's going to be seeing that orange car in his dreams tonight. Well, I say they're going to be dreams, more like nightmares, unfortunately, as Matt Shepherd's still in front of Jacko. As Quinn chasing down Bazza. He's going to get down the inside. Oh, there's contact down the back straight between the pair of them. They're banging and trading paint, going down into the braking point. Danny's going to hold it in the inside. Bazza is going to try and stay with it. He cuts the corner, and that's a bit naughtier from Bazza. He's going to tag, and they're tagging again. As I believe Bazza probably should have got out of that one at the last second, but he's going to lose the position to Quinn, and Quinn can now get on with his job of closing down on Yuri, but he's lost 3.8 seconds sitting behind Bazza, and that's now brought Kingan back into play, and Isaac sitting in P6 now. Another yellow flag for for Robin Border. He's gone around again, really struggling with that turn 3 is Robin.
He is indeed, and Leroy then making his second stop. That again would suggest that we're probably in for a wet end, actually, if he's getting himself onto another set of intermediates. And Jacko, did we actually see him passing Matt Shepherd? Because he is obviously ahead of him now, as you can see. And so a decent lap for him, getting by 2 cars in 1 lap. And sitting 8th. Will he beat Leroy out of the pits? It's not going to be a massive amount to him, but if he can hold him up at all, then it may give him some slight advantage later on in the race, but I think Leroy will be well clear. That's just how well his strategy's working. So jumping 2 of his championship contenders as easy as that, and well, he's got the clear road, and well, he now doesn't have to worry about that pit lane anymore. He's going to the end of the race, to the end of the championship. But if this does stay dry or stay wet like this, the question will be, can he catch Quinn and Yuri, who would be the net leaders if it stays like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as at the moment, your net race lead is currently sitting with Yuri, but yeah, it's Yuri and then Quinn. But Leroy, I mean, we've seen that he is a man on fire tonight. This is a man that is not only destined for a championship in Kia, but well, he's only just missed out on making it a double championship 5 by getting there in Cup. He, of course, got eliminated after a collision with Ben Harriott, I believe it was as well. So I'm sure Leroy did not want to see that Ben 4 Spurs 96 on the grid tonight. He'd be getting flashbacks from that. But he sits in P6. He's now going to close down on Sully. Sully's not going to hold him up at all. You've got to think that they'll all be on a party together. Kingan is a second up the road from Sully as well. So this is all going to ebb and flow. It's still going to change. We've got 13 laps left to go. We've got Kingan closing in on Quinn. So Quinn's not actually managing to break away from the Swede. And, well, we've got Yuri now 3.7 seconds behind Michelle Goris. And Michelle having a good run, currently leading away. But, well, Leroy, if you're looking at that delta, it's coming down, it's coming down.
When he was behind Matt Shepherd earlier on, it caught him out. He lost time. And these passes, each and every one of them, is going to be vital. Obviously, it's for championship position. They're not going to be easy fights, and there's no DRS if this track stays wet. And you know what, it doesn't even really matter. If the track dries up, that's actually a bad thing for Leroy, because he needs this tyre advantage. So he actually will be hoping this rain keeps falling. And he's going to have to do this without DRS, without ERS. He's run out of it. So, you know, he's quick, but this is not set in stone. In fact, this is a very tricky task. Apart from, of course, Sully, who has let him go. But, you know, Quinn isn't going to let him go, is he? And certainly Yuri won't.
No, but what is interesting is the 2 very, very different strategy calls from the Hasselager brothers. You've got Yuri decided to get his stops out the way very early on and just hope that we go green to the end. And of course Leroy has done a more conventional 2-stop, and he's now going to have to chase him down. This is going to be effectively Yuri on the defensive as we've got another yellow, and that's a safety car.
Safety car. So Rageman's front line has caused another safety car. And, well, what this does is it gives... because Yuri would not be able to make a free pit stop. I was going to say free pit stop, newer tyres,
oh
being
gosh,
ahead,
that was
but he's not going to
so
have that.
close. There's there is carbon fibre in the middle of the
A lot of
circuit,
debris, isn't there?
and Yuri just ran straight over the top of it, but got away with it. And
I mean, the sun is coming out, so I find it hard to believe it's going to keep raining for much longer. But what we do see is, well, I was going to say Yuri can make a free pit stop, but he won't do that. I think this will dry up. I don't know. It just feels sort of a gut instinct to me that this will dry up, and that means that Leroy, yeah, this is what I said. He'll be fantastic in qualifying, but then he'll get the strategy slightly wrong in the race, so there'll be a mistake, and he'll find himself in this exact position. And it means if we do see this thing dry up, it means Jacko's only 2 places behind, and Newgarden only 3 places behind that. So they're all still in the game here.
I was going to say, but you look at that and say that maybe Leroy's chances have dropped down a bit. I'd still say, I mean, look, this is a man that took pole position by what, 6-7 tenths of a second, so we know that he's at least half the second.
What has he done with it recently, though? What does he do with it, though? We've seen it in the last few races. He either throws it in the wall or throws it into a spin. It's not always set in stone to qualify. It's nothing against Leroy, but it's just the trend we've seen recently. So he likes to do it the hard way, let's say that much.
No, yeah, absolutely. And, well, he'll be doing that both tonight and on Thursday. And if this is whetting your appetite, make sure you tune in on Thursday evening for the Cup Series finale, the Championship 5, also here at the Miami International Circuit, for what is set to be an absolutely blistering last race of the season and the last one of the year here in JACKOCAR. Owen Wyatt and Jack Ricketts in the commentary box, joined by none other than myself as I jump out the car and into the commentary box for that one. We've got a 2-hour or over 2-hour bumper build up that is set to be possibly the main event, and then the race will come secondary. But
Yep. We should
we-
point out as well that is at 5:45, that build up starting, which means the race itself starts at 8, so we
It
are
does.
shifting the schedule back by an hour.
yeah, absolutely.
So
So
that's the
make sure
first for us.
It
in race
is.
100. Of
I actually
course,
quite
we have to
like
wait
it.
until race 100 to change the format. Maybe it will stick like that if people are a fan.
And yeah, 8 o'clock start is a little bit nicer. Everyone gets a little bit more of an evening. But of course, those guys are a little, maybe an hour or two ahead of us, that we're staying up a little bit later. But trust me, it's going to be worth it. As make sure you tune in by subscribing, and then you can be notified when we go live by ringing the bell. And of course, if you're enjoying tonight, make sure you press like on the video. Kaya's asked to see the stops. Don't worry, Kaya, it's going to make no sense because everyone's done 1,000,001. There you go, everyone's made a ton of stops, so I'm not going to tell you who's made all their mandatories, and I'm sure I won't either, because we don't keep track, because no one can. It's an impossible task. I don't know how Jacko does it.
The good news is it doesn't matter because the rain has now stopped,
That's
which means
true.
they all have to make one more stop anyway onto the dries, and we know that they all absolutely for sure have made at least one mandatory stop, and that's all that really matters, assuming that the stop for dries is all done in under green, which I suppose in theory it might not be. So do us a favour, guys, just pit under green for the dries, thanks.
Absolutely. As yellow comes out again.
Safety car just decided it wasn't out for a second, then it realised it was still out. I wonder why that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to look to see if anyone lost it on the last corner, but the last corner is the before the straight. But well, another lap, so that's going to take us
Leroy,
to a restart on lap 21. And
what's this all about?
Surely this isn't for dries.
I'm seeing a yellow marked set of the medium compound tyres. For the man who has done 2 stops in this race that are mandatory, this is absolutely okay for him to do. OKK in the pits as well. The only reason you'd be doing this is if your engineer's telling you to do this, right? OKK is going for these intermediate. That's what I would have expected on a pit stop. Leroy is on a wet track on dry tyres. There's no other way of saying it.
This is not wet. This is not dry either. Look at the track.
This does have potential benefits though, because say we do the restart and this track does dry up in time by say halfway through the lap, he will not have lost a full pit stop's time, and so that's where he'll then cycle to the front. That's assuming that under full racing speed he can keep it out of the wall, which is not going to be easy because you'll not have any chance to heat these tyres up.
No, because he was just on a Colton Herta full lock style slide as he went around the previous corner on the entry to this main straight at turn 8. So full lock, he just about held it. This is a gamble of all gambles, and if it pays off, what a decision. But if it doesn't, this has just cost him the championship and handed it to seemingly either Quinn or Yuri, because it's going to be the pair of them. Quinn, of course, who finished 4th in the Season 2 Championship 5. He was caught out in the wet conditions as well that day. Safety car in this lap. Yuri,
boy.
last season's champion. We've got Jacko in P6. He's still in this one. Speed Newgarden. He's having a bit of a nowhere race down in 7th, but, well, we're about to get restarted, and this is going to be massive. Michel Goris leads away. Yuri in P2. Does Michel let the two of Yuri and Quinn go just to go and do their own thing?
Oh, nah, he wants to win the race. This is a great chance to win. They aren't going to fight him, are they? And risk breaking their cars. He'll go and win this thing now, surely.
You've got to think. You've got to think, because we're about to start lap 21 of 29 here for the Kia Series, JACKOCAR Kia Series Championship 5. It's Michel Goris leading away from Yuri's waiting, and he's gone. Battery already on. He's on the curb, and that's going to hurt him. But Yuri's been hurt because he's not been able to stay with him. Behind, they're fanning out, trying to find positions, but they're going to hold place. 1, 2, 3. Big send from Jacko into turn 1, and he's around. Tagged. A big crash. We've got 3 cars around. Jacko far too deep into the corner. He tags 2 or 3 cars, and a half spin for him. Looks as though he's got away with any wing damage, but surely that side pod damage. He got a big hit from the side. Oh, and into the wall again, side by side with Thomas Nevitt, and Jacko is, look at this, filtering to the back. And Leroy is gonna go around it. Sure, he's gonna lose the wing.
Oh, he was keeping up quite nicely. I don't think there's massive damage. He should be able to keep going with that, but he's lost any time he was making up, because he was doing all right through the first 3 corners. But oh dear, and now Yuri actually does get through. That actually does look like a yield. So maybe Michel doesn't fancy winning the race. Way to make it exciting for us, eh?
Yeah.
But maybe Ben Hart will try and ruin the party here. We get to see him win a race. Alright, so let's see if he can do it. Not exactly a Cup Series win, but we know he's got the pace. He's got the best tyres. Let's see what he can do.
And do we see Michel pull to the side and let Quinn go? Because Quinn's not close enough yet. So is Michel going to pull to the inside and let Quinn go and then become blocker against Ben?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So Michel gets out the way, plays the team game. Of course, Michel Goris, MX Site, part of Team Speed. As Leroy now with a 3-second time penalty. So that effectively looks as though that might be his chase for the championship run and done. He's down in 14th position on the wrong tyres. He's losing time. You got a yellow flag out as well.
Nevitt. Facing the wrong way.
As Thomas in the purple, white and pink machine. Has he kept it on track? Just about to keep a safety car from coming out. He's coming into the box, but now Ben Harritt all over the back of Michel. So Michel is going to definitely play the blocker because he knows that Ben's looking quick. And we think it might dry up. There's no real blue sky breaking just yet. So is it going to be that annoying condition that we've seen previously where it just stays greasy for the rest of the race, or will we see a dry lie forming? Because Leroy's staying out, but he's now got that 3-second time penalty.
Oh, Jacko! No! What are you doing? With Newgarden, 2 championship contenders, they just wipe each other into the wall. The last thing you want to see them doing. Ironically, it brings a safety car out, and it gives all 3 of them, Jacko, Newgarden and Leroy, a chance to get back into this. But they're both so lucky they haven't wiped each other completely out of the race with that. That was completely unnecessary.
Oh, I think you're going to need to clip that. I was on board with Ben Harritt sending it on Michel, and that's been taken away. So I'd love to see the POV of that because, well, as you say, 2 Championship 5 protagonists, and that's potentially going to become 3 that might be out of this. But, well, this is a big call now for Yuri.
They get to catch up now, don't they, to the train, though? They may all pit for dry tyres as well.
Does Yuri stay out? So Yuri stays out. Quinn's going into the wall. Quinn's done.
He is. He's that'll be something going wrong with his wheel or something. And that's an unbelievably cruel way to drop out of the championship, because in this situation with the conditions all over the show, you want to still be on the road at the end, and so I'm 100% sure that is not Quinn's fault. And we're now down to the championship 4. Now, Jacko, this has to be for dry tyres if he wants any hope in this race now. Same if you are Newgarden is okay to get himself black flagged. Will these two get out in front of Leroy? And it's actually going to be a new set of intermediates, so they're not going to risk the dries, or at least Jacko isn't. And Newgarden has retired as well.
Leroy's had a spin.
Leroy's had a spin, but why is Newgarden retiring? Did he have too much damage on the car? It's very unusual to see this happen in a Championship 5. And look at that, Jacko got out in front of Leroy.
Yet
I wondered if he should have been sticking dries on, to be honest.
Leroy's had a spin and got done for a for an overtake under the yellows, overtaking a spinning car. So Yuri's got this in the bag now. This is Yuri's to lose, unfortunately.
Well, this is it. But let's say, Jacko not on dries. Maybe the track won't get there, but at the very least, he's now on 16 lap fresher tyres than Yuri. I mean, this is your chance. Although I'm sure you may end up getting taken into the steward. This is the problem. What if he gets taken to the stewards for the accident? I know you didn't see it, but he stuck his nose into a place it really shouldn't have been, right? And obviously had the accident at the start of that last restart too. So he's been in the wars here, Jacko. And I know we're a bit lax in all this stuff, but he could still find himself in trouble if he gets himself to the front. So, oh dear, this could be a long night.
So as Corey Dalton is laughing at the state of the race, and Mr. Dalton, my friend, I wouldn't hold your breath before you've taken to the grid on Thursday, because this could happen.
Mr. Quali Band.
It could happen to you. You've got to come from the back, and we could see conditions exactly like this. So yeah, it's all the Championship 5 in Cup will be watching this with eagle eyes, and will be wanting to see what happens and what the conditions are like, because it might be a case that you might need to see if you've got a wet setup on, because, well, the two league races that I've seen around here recently have both been in these conditions. So, I mean, Championship 5, as Leroy's going to go deep again at the last corner. I mean, it was a bold move, but those tyres are not the right ones. And into the box he comes, and surely this is a set of intermediates. He's given up on this. And
well, I think what he's doing as well is taking the 5-second penalty and getting rid. I actually wouldn't be at all surprised to see a red mark set of the soft tyres go on. But I think common sense will take over and he will put inters on. But I suppose he's done rolling the dice. He now actually has to hope that he can catch the back of the safety car train, because a lot of these drivers are nowhere near it, and he is half a lap away from it. And we've only got 5 laps to go at the end of this one, so the safety car can't stay out forever.
No. So that is with the Championship 5. Of course, we're in the final race of the season. This is part of JACKOCAR's Kia Series, the second tier in JACKOCAR. The Championship 5, the top 4 from the playoff standings, the points tally in the season. Both the guys that qualified into the playoffs, and then, of course, going through the playoffs, the top 4 that scored the most amount of points into the Championship 5, and then the lucky loser, those that didn't make it into the playoffs, as Marco picks up 3 seconds under the safety car. So that makes Danny Quinn, that came in as the 5th. But as we now see, both Quinn and Newgarden making it a Championship 3, but with Leroy now down in 10th position and Jacko in P7, potentially with stewards, a summons, let's just say, then that is effectively, it's a Championship 3, but it might even just be a Championship 1.2 at the moment, because it's looking as though Yuri, unless something drastically goes wrong, is got this one.
We saw Jacko's quali pace. He was very fast, nearly on Yuri's pace. With a 16 lap tyre advantage, he'll have, I would say, 4 laps at this. Anything can happen in that time. This track is in the worst possible condition for these drivers, where it's greasy, it's not too wet, it's not too dry, it's just greasy. So, if you're looking to see this turn again, it absolutely still can. And, I mean, we've seen how crazy the restarts have been as well. I'm not holding my breath on anything yet until the checkered flag flies, but you are right though. As it stands, Yuri is certainly looking good for the double championship, but we'll have to wait and see. Because, I mean, the track is getting drier and drier all the time. This is just, it's a nightmare. I'd hate to be in this situation. I just... Not for me, this.
No, and yeah, I'm looking at the track and thinking, God, it does look as though dries are almost there. I mean, you can see the tyre marks being made by the safety car, dictating that there is definitely a track surface under there that's drying up. But yeah, it's just not quite. Surely it's not quite there. It looks as though the air temperature is just not warm enough to dry the track because it's still very greasy. And even now, if you jump onto the dry tyres, Yuri's surely going to stay out. He's got 4 laps to get to the end when we get to the end of this one, and he'd bet against himself to not lose that time.
I just realised, Michel Goris, Matt Shepherd, Keenan all have to pit one more time as well, so that'll help Jacko out massively. So, I mean, again, I'll say it again, 16-lap tyre advantage. He actually only has to fight, I say fight, 3 cars. Will Baza be kind to him? I could see that happening. He's got a penalty anyway. Ben Spurs, he'll actually probably fancy the win, to be honest with you. So this is not over yet. He's got good tyres, Ben, as well, so he can certainly get his foot down.
There you go. Strap yourselves in. We're going green once again in the Championship 5 as Yuri. Oh, out of shape goes Ben Spurs, but he's got the move done. What a restart from Ben Harrett. He's going to try to go down the inside of Michel Goris. They're going to go side by side. They've managed to not tag each other, but Michel holds on to P2. Matt Shepherd's going to want to be part of this because you can see he's all over the back of Ben Harrett, and Ben's looking very quick on this restart, and he's challenging the back of Michel Goris, but down the inside goes Baza. Baza, what a move there on Matt Shepherd going in through the sweepers, and behind Jacko's lost a position to Kingan, so down into P7 goes Jack Ricketts, and on the restart Yuri's now got a 1.1 second advantage behind with Michel Goris in P2. Ben Harrett now be P3, and he's bringing a train of cars all the way back to Leroy, and Leroy now only 1.2 seconds off the back of Jacko.
And Leroy, of course, with his penalties as well, he'll be ruining that 3 seconds, but Ben into second place. And surely he'll keep that. Well, he will keep that because Michel will end up in the pits at some point. But all this side-by-side action is helping Yuri a massive amount. But Ben, there he goes. He's into second position. And, well, let's see what he can do about Yuri.
This is going to change dramatically at the end of this.
Jacko's going for the move here. And surely he'll get Keenan. Again, he'll have to pit anyway, Keenan. But this track, you'll not know if it's dry until it says DRS enabled, which cannot physically happen until lap 28. So, they actually have to drive on their wits here. As Leroy all over the back of Jacko, and look at these guys all going for the pits! They're all going for the pits! I was not expecting that! Leroy has stayed out and set the fastest lap in his race. No way! Is this about to turn back in his favour?
Well, let's have a look at this. We've got tyres going on, and it's all the soft rubber. So, how's your nerve, Hasselagers? We've seen this. We've seen them work together in Imola. They've taken 1-2s before. Yuri, 20 laps. Leroy, 3 laps. He's got 4.2 seconds to make up. We've got Rageman out the race. Don't worry, that's not going to be out of safety car. Surely we've got far too much of... we haven't got enough of the race left to make any difference. Well, I'm trying to find the penalties. You can never remember which one it is. There we go. Thomas Nevitt, drive-through penalty. Leroy, with only 3 seconds... And, well, he's going to bemoan that being on those on those medium tyres, because he can potentially catch Yuri and overtake him. We're about to go on to the penultimate lap, but we end this one. It was a big call for those guys to go onto dry tyres, because Ben Harrett... It was a
wrong call.
Yeah, I mean, it was just never going to make up enough time. We were saying that it's...
Jacko was on new tyres. What's he doing that for, making the pit stop? I just do not understand, because... Everyone in front of him moved out of his way. He would have been second place. All he would have had to do on much newer tyres was just drive normally. He would have caught Yuri. Look at how Leroy's catching him. It's not even a challenge. He's catching nearly 2 seconds on this lap. But obviously he's got the penalty, so we need someone to go run for Yuri. Still, he's got 2 laps to go to take the championship against his brother, who is currently the fastest man on track.
And this is going to be fascinating, because if Leroy catches Yuri, he needs to force him into a mistake. He needs to give him a penalty. So, well, into the box comes Thomas Nevitt. He had a drive-through penalty. Matt Shepherd is he came in for a new set of intermediates, and he's managed to get past Michel Goris. So, yeah, he's, as you say, doing really nicely on those new inters. Yuri still 2.9 seconds behind Yuri, so it's still sitting in Yuri's favour. As you can see, Thomas Nevitt comes out behind the back, but in P7, so an admirable race for Thomas. Jacko behind him in P8, so it's all fallen apart for Jacko in the late stages. Made the wrong call to go into the box for the dry tyres. Surely it's inters to the end here. You don't want to lose any more time, as Matt Shepherd fighting with Michel Goris. Michel's going to try and go around the outside. Ben Harrett is fighting with the pair of them. They're almost three wide going into turn 8, and we're going to go down the back straight.
Jacko's had a crash, so it's pretty much over for him now. But the track is now bone dry. But I still think you actually were right. If you want to go on dries, do it under the safety car, not now, as Michel does get himself back in front. And Leroy is still catching up, but it needs a gargantuan effort now to beat his brother to the championship. And it looks like they're going to finish 1-2 for the second season in a row. And Leroy, despite how dominant he's been, will once again fall short as it stands.
And surely spells the end, as DRS is now enabled, spells the end for the Hasselagers in the Kia series. I mean, Yuri will be saying, no, I deserve to be here, but two-time champion starts the last lap. Leroy, fastest lap of the race, but he's lost 0.2 of a second to his brother. And, well, we're about to go on the last lap. It's looking as though one of these dry tyres, as Matt Shepherd actually clips the wall, and he's holding on to position here. So whilst the dry tyres are definitely quick, go on.
I was going to say, if Marco Schneider can hold on, a podium's in store for him, but unfortunately he's got 3 seconds of penalties, so I have a feeling he's about to lose, heartbreakingly, the podium on this last lap. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it?
It would, because he's had an absolutely shocking race, but you can see, look at the gap they're bringing down, 10th after 10th after 10th, and it's about to become nothing. There we go. Michel already within
puncture for Yuri! Oh no! Leroy's going to win the championship! I cannot believe this! I said it earlier on. Was 22 laps too long on the tyres? The answer, yes! And Leroy is going to come through. I do not believe it. Jacko is going to be... You can't even imagine how angry Jacko's going to be. Because it should have been him. It would have been him in Leroy's position. But I just... maybe Marco will get his podium, yeah, who knows? But here comes Leroy now, and he is going to take the championship.
What a race. What a season we have had. Leroy Hasselager, he's slowing right down. Is he going to wait and go side by side?
Is he going to get it back?
Surely not. He's going to take the line. Yuri's going to have given it to him. Leroy Hasselager, the Kia Series champion. Wow, what a race. And Yuri is going to be absolutely incensed, and he's going to perhaps spins across the line in frustration. Michel Goris rounds out the podium. Ben Harrett's going to drop down a couple of positions. Matt Shepherd, what a job to get back up into P4, staying on the intermediate tyres. But it is another Hasselager championship. But this time, it goes to the other bedroom. It goes to Leroy. It's Leroy Hasselager, your champion for Kia Season 4. And, well, Yuri will be absolutely devastated with that. Michel Goris makes it an all-speed podium. Matt Shepherd, P4. Ben Harrett did very nicely, P5. And as you say, Jacko will be gutted with that.
He'll love watching this back as well, because we both went and said it, didn't we? Just stay out. Of course, he's not a fortune teller. He wouldn't have been able to see the puncture coming. But we did say it. Did Yuri go to his enters too early to do the whole rest of the race? And that was a challenge. And it's a challenge that even he couldn't manage. But it means that Leroy, who was out of it, he was out of it. He got it so wrong. But he's turned it around, and he was there in the end when it mattered, to take a very, as it turns out, unlikely championship the result will say started on pole, won the race, but it is absolutely not as simple as that. A last lap overtake for the championship, and against your own brother. I mean, oh my goodness, what a way to lose. What a way to win. And it's a championship for the Hasselagers for a second season in a row, and as you say, it is Leroy's turn to taste the champagne.
Absolutely. He leaves Kia for the last time, however, this time with the championship. It's an all-Dutch podium. Leroy Hasselager, Yuri Hasselager and Michel Goris 1, 2 and 3 in 57 minutes and 6 seconds. Matt Shepard, another solid race to P4. Ben Harrett in P5. Marco Schneider was gutted. He came in the comments and was very disappointed. He drops down to P6 after what seemed like a race that was going completely wrong. Still picks up his best result in JACKOCAR. Sully in 7th. Jacko, after an absolute disaster of a race, P8. Isaac Edemer in P9 with Bazza in his last race in P10. Thomas Nevitt, unfortunately that late drive through drops him down to 11th. Robin Border in 12th is in P12. Then we've got our retirements of Robin Borden, the first retirement, and then our 2 Championship 5 protagonists in Newgard and Quinn, Victor Souza and OKK. Make it a chaotic end, and what we love to see in JACKOCAR. But if you're Yuri, you're going to be absolutely seething with that. It will all going so right until it went so wrong.
So Jacko had another mandatory to make. So that would mean, I'm still saying, the stop that he didn't make at the very start of the race, it did end up costing him in the end. Oh, goodness me. That was a race which I can't believe it now. I said would be simple on strategy, because it was just wet to enter to dry. And of course these guys ended up on inters on the final lap on a bone dry track, picking up punctures. That's this league summed up, isn't it? Absolutely unpredictable right until the end. And well, Thursday, the Cup Series drivers have seen now what they've got to live up to. Good luck for a start. And yeah, I don't even know.
I don't. Yeah, both of us have kind of been left a little bit speechless by it. I mean, you shout Yuri puncture, and I flick over to him, and
I caught it. You know, I'm glad I caught it.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't actually think he would puncture, but I thought just in case, let's just ride on and watch, and he actually does.
With 6 corners left to go, Yuri unfortunately loses the championship. It does stay in the Hasselager household. However, it's not going to be a repeat for Yuri. This time it does go to Leroy, who leaves Kia with a championship, and very much in the capable hands of the Hasselagers, who have and over the season you've got to think that Leroy has deserved it. He's become a formidable force in Kia, a very quick driver, and improved dramatically from the last game to this game. And 5 poles in a row, and adding a 5th win as well, along with several fastest laps. He's been supreme this season. He's had 4 fastest laps. He's only picked up 9 seconds of time penalties across the entire season, and well, you can't say that it's not deserved, but if you're Yuri, you're going to be spitting feathers about that. It was Quinn, I'm sure, would love to hear from Danny what happened. Clearly there was an issue with the wheelbase or something. He went straight on, head on into the wall at the exit of turn 16 at around about 200 miles an hour. So something massively went wrong there. Of course, Newgarden tangled up with Jacko. So the pair of the 2 Championship 5 compatriots all getting involved in each other, and Newgarden deciding it was better off just to box it. I believe probably if it was a case of having severe side pod damage, then your race is run anyway. But wow, Owen, what a dramatic way to end the race and end the season.
I'm glad I ended up hopping into Kia Series comms this season, because it ended up being a very good season to watch, and what a finale. What a last 2 races as well. I mean, Brazil and Miami, that's on the level of the best Cup Series races we've ever seen. So, I mean, the Kia Series on certainly a very high level. And like I say, just good luck on Thursday trying to make a race better than that. I'm sure they will. They always manage it, don't they? But my God, what a season, what a race. Hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely so. I hope you did enjoy it. And we've now got the the task of trying to pick a driver of the day, which is going to be all over the place today, because who are your first two?
Okay, let's think about this. I would actually say, because it's hard to give it to the guys that won the race, isn't it? Because both of them sort of ended up, well, Leroy sort of got it wrong, then got it right, but he got it wrong for the most part. I'd say he made the right choice in the end, and I suppose was there, so I suppose it's sort of my default. I had to give him one. But I'm actually going to say Michel Goris as well. Obviously, the strategy didn't quite work out in the end, but he still ended up finishing on the podium and a very sort of strong race in general.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm going to go with Matt Shepherd, who had another really good race. Was right up there once again, fighting in the. And I genuinely think that he's a title contender next season if he decides to stick it with the Kia series. And I'm torn for my second vote actually between both Thomas Nevitt and Marco Schneider had really solid races, but I'm actually going to go for Marco. I mean, who would have thought that after the start of that race that we'd have Marco Schneider just missing out on a podium on the last lap with the weather changing? So well done, Marco. I know that you're gutted, and I saw you in the comments, but yeah, mega race to come back and to stick it out through the conditions. And unfortunately, Dems the brakes, and it doesn't always work out. And we've seen it happen before. Of course, it happened in the Kia Series Championship 5 just 2 seasons ago, when it went from dry to wet, when Yuri and myself were caught out being on the wrong set of tyres. Clearly, this time around, it's the intermediate conditions that have caught Yuri out again. So, unfortunately for him, it's going to be a sore one tonight, but I'm sure he'll come back strong. Of course, he'll be racing on Thursday in the Cup Series Championship. And well, thank you so much for joining us for the Championship 5. Thank you for joining us for the season. Thank you very much, Owen, for joining me in the commentary box for the majority of the season. It's been great fun having you alongside me.
Thanks for having me. Been good fun. And I'm looking forward to next season now as well. Hopefully we'll be able to stick at this.
Absolutely.
Actually have a consistent lineup in the Kia.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Rare occurs.
And not making any promises, but Kia Series commentary next season, bigger and better than ever, with a few changes, let's say, but we will bring that to you probably in around about March 2023. So make sure you go to @JACKOCAR2, where you can find out all the results from tonight and all the news going forward about the Kia Series. Of course, @JACKOCAR on Twitter about the Cup Series, which will be racing on Thursday. Make sure you set your alarm clocks for that. We will have a pre-show going live at 5 o'clock, I believe it is 5 o'clock for the pre-show on Thursday.
5:45.
There we go.
And then the race at 8.
Yes, and late race. So remember that later race, and well, it's going to be worth it. We've got Jamie Wright, Ben Shaw, Corey Dalton, Jake O'Sullivan, and
Kieran
Spears. There we go. Who can forget you, Kieran?
He'll be properly offended by that one.
I know. Yeah, I was just thinking, because he's too small. I can't see him half the time. But yeah, what a race we're in.
The dementia kicking in there.
That's true. I'm getting old now. But what a season we've had. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us the entire way through. Make sure you do the good stuff you do on the socials. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. It does help us out immensely. Of course, subscribe if you're new, and if you love JACKOCAR, we all do. And it was true JACKOCAR racing tonight. We saw the championship change hands with 4 corners left to go. But once again, big thank you for the season. We'll be back in 2023 for the Kia Series. Join us on Thursday for the Cup, when JACKOCAR returns for the Championship 5.